My mother-in-law fabricated incriminating photos and accused me of stealing. When I became pregnant, she sent a note saying she claimed what was growing inside me. She always believed I wasn't good enough for her son. At my birthday celebration, she labeled me a fortune hunter while I covered her meal. I got upset because my $2,500 engagement ring seemed too extravagant. When I noticed the discrepancy, she swapped my professional attire with cheap imitations from a discount store, using it as evidence I was after her son's wealth. But when her son stood by me and told her his feelings wouldn't waver, a strange look crossed her face. The following week, I spotted the same vehicle tailing me everywhere, outside my workplace, the fitness center, and the supermarket. When I told my husband I was being followed, he brushed it off as me being overly anxious. One evening, I came home to find a folder on my living room table. It contained private investigator reports detailing 3 months of my life. Every person I interacted with, every place I visited, was spun to look dubious. The investigator claimed my male colleague buying me coffee meant we were romantically involved. My bank visits were portrayed as proof of secret accounts. She demanded I explain these reports. The jewelry incident happened during an Easter meal. My mother-in-law, whom I'll call Clara, shouted that her grandmother's heirloom bracelet was gone as I cleared the table. She made a big scene of searching before insisting everyone check their bags. Of course, the bracelet was in my purse. I saw my husband's face change as she pulled it out. That flicker of uncertainty broke something inside me. Clara calmly said she wouldn't press charges since everyone makes mistakes, while the family stared at me like I was scum. 2 weeks later, she invited me to lunch. I thought she might apologize, but instead, she slid a check across the table. $50,000. When I didn't respond, she wrote another for $75,000. Then, $100,000. Every woman has a price, she said. Tell me yours. She revealed she'd done this before with success. I wasn't the most charming opportunist her son had dated. The final blow came during a family dinner in September. Clara had been unusually kind for 2 weeks, which should have tipped me off. She suggested we display photos from our recent family beach vacation. She hooked her phone to the TV. The first few pictures were fine. Then, suddenly, there I was, kissing a stranger. Multiple images showed me with this unknown man at restaurants and places I'd never visited. The lighting was off, and the metadata would have proven they were fake, but no one noticed while staring at the images on the big screen. She gave a whole speech about protecting her son and following her motherly instincts. She'd already shared these photos with my husband's colleagues and friends. She'd protected him from the truth about his unfaithful wife. I tried to explain, but she'd prepped everyone perfectly. The walk to my car, with the family murmuring behind me, felt endless. On the drive home, my husband asked for time to think. That's when I realized this was always her goal. Destroying me was part of who she was. She'd never stop. Now, sitting in my car, watching him enter our home without me, I made a choice. If she wanted to play with family secrets, I'd play too. I hired my own investigator to dig into her past. It took 2 months to uncover the jackpot. Her husband's nephew looked nothing like his supposed father, but shared her distinct nose and green eyes. The timeline was revealing. She delivered her first child 6 months prematurely, yet the cousin was 6 months older. The affair that produced him happened while her husband was away on business. I spent months as the defeated daughter-in-law. I apologized for the confusion over the photos. I thanked her for welcoming me back into the family. Then, at Thanksgiving, I proposed a fun family activity for Christmas. Those DNA ancestry tests were all the rage. Wouldn't it be amazing to map the family lineage? I appealed to her pride by stressing the importance of family heritage. She couldn't say no without looking suspicious. On Christmas morning, I handed out elegantly wrapped DNA test kits to everyone. Clara tried to smile, but I saw fear in her eyes. The next 2 months were thrilling. The family chat buzzed with excitement as people got their results. Everyone shared their heritage percentages and found distant cousins. Then the bombshell hit. The cousins' results showed a half-sibling match with my husband. My father-in-law stared at the TV, struggling to process it. The rest of the family cross-checked the results, and the math was clear. Clara insisted the test was wrong, but science doesn't lie like she does. Watching her perfect family image crumble, as she scrambled to explain, was pure justice. Her husband moved out within a week. The divorce papers cited infidelity and deceit. The family split, with most cutting her off for her years of hypocrisy. My husband apologized repeatedly for doubting me. Family gatherings moved to our house, where she wasn't welcome. I thought I'd won. Then my birth control failed despite my precautions. The positive pregnancy test arrived at my office with flowers. The card read, "Congratulations, Grandma knows." An untraceable text followed. "You stole my family. Now I'll take what's growing in you and raise it right. Blood is blood." She was playing a much longer game than I'd anticipated. My hand shook as I stared at the card. The office suddenly felt too exposed. My colleague, Natalie, noticed my face and rushed over, but I brushed her off and grabbed my bag. I needed to get home. The drive was a blur of checking mirrors and making random turns. Every car behind me could have been hers. At home, I locked the door and shut all the curtains. My husband found me on the bathroom floor 20 minutes later. The pregnancy test was still in my hand. I showed him the text. His face cycled through emotions before landing on rage. He called his mother immediately, but she didn't answer. Then his phone buzzed with her message, "Congratulations on the baby. I can't wait to be part of every moment." That night, we changed the locks and installed a security system. My husband took leave from work to stay with me. We switched up our routines and avoided predictable patterns, but she was always a step ahead. Baby items started arriving at our house with no sender address. A crib, a high chair, all top quality and untraceable. The mind games intensified. She somehow got my work email and sent a pregnancy announcement to my entire office before I'd even seen a doctor. My boss pulled me aside to discuss maternity leave while I was still reeling. She'd robbed me of sharing the news on my terms. Then came the medical interference. At my first prenatal visit, I learned she'd called, posing as me, trying to access my medical records. The receptionist was confused because I had supposedly just canceled. It took an hour to verify my identity and add password protection to my file. My husband confronted her at her apartment. I watched from the car as they argued. She stood there, smiling, denying everything. When he returned, his hands trembled. She'd set up a full nursery in her spare room, picked out names, and told him she consulted lawyers about grandparent rights. The family was split on how to handle her. Some relatives thought we were overreacting to a grandmother's enthusiasm. Others knew her history of ruining lives. My father-in-law, still reeling from the divorce, offered to help however he could. He uncovered years of hidden credit cards and accounts. She had resources we hadn't expected. Her tactics grew bolder each week. She showed up at my workplace with baby gifts, forcing me to accept them in front of colleagues or seem ungrateful. She joined every pregnancy group and forum I was in, commenting right after me. When I switched groups, she found those too. The breaking point came in my second trimester. I'd been careful. So careful. But somehow, she knew about my doctor's appointment. She walked into the waiting room and sat beside me. She just smiled and picked up a parenting magazine. When my name was called, she stood up too. The nurse looked confused. As we approached, my mother-in-law sweetly explained she was there to support her daughter-in-law. I firmly told them she wasn't allowed in my appointment. She made a scene about being excluded from her grandchild's life, loud enough for the whole waiting room to hear. Security escorted her out as she cried about wanting to be involved. That night, my husband and I made a plan. If she wanted to escalate, we'd be ready. We started documenting everything, every message, unwanted gift, and appearance. We installed cameras around our property, updated all passwords, and put alerts on our credit reports. But she adapted too. Gifts started arriving at my husband's workplace. She befriended our neighbors, asking about me and expressing concern for my health. She volunteered at the hospital where I planned to deliver and joined the auxiliary board. She countered every move we made. My sister-in-law, Natalie, became an unexpected ally. She'd watched her mother's schemes for years and knew her patterns. She warned us about the next phase. My mother-in-law would try to isolate me from my support network. Sure enough, anonymous letters started arriving at my friends' homes, warning them I was mentally unstable during pregnancy. Most saw through it, but some pulled away. My book club suddenly had scheduling conflicts whenever I could attend. I wondered what drove this mother-in-law to pour so much time and money into this. The investigator, the fake photos, now the baby gifts. It was a lot of effort just because she despised her daughter-in-law. My yoga teacher mentioned someone had called, worried about me exercising while pregnant. She was slowly shrinking my world until only she remained. The stress was affecting my health. My doctor noted my blood pressure was elevated. I couldn't sleep, startled by every noise. My husband added motion sensors and more cameras. But technology couldn't stop her psychological tactics. She was too clever to do anything legally actionable as harassment. Then we stumbled onto her latest scheme by chance. My husband's cousin, Daniel, her secret son, was appalled by her after learning the truth. He reached out to help. He'd overheard her on the phone, discussing nursing homes and power of attorney. She was researching how to declare me incompetent due to pregnancy-related mental health issues. The news about her competency plot sent chills through me. I immediately booked an appointment with my obstetrician to document my mental health. My husband attended every visit, establishing a record of my stability and sound decisions. The doctor noted everything in my file, understanding the seriousness of the situation. After I detailed the pattern of harassment, Daniel proved invaluable. Over the next few weeks, he started visiting his mother regularly, pretending to mend their relationship while collecting information. He discovered she'd been consulting a psychiatrist friend about signs of postpartum psychosis, planning to exploit this angle after the baby's birth. She'd even researched which local courts were most sympathetic to grandparent rights cases. My husband's work schedule became erratic, as he tried to balance protecting me with maintaining our income. His mother began appearing at his workplace during important meetings, forcing him to choose between his job and handling her disruptions. His boss, initially understanding, grew frustrated with the constant interruptions. The financial strain worsened an already tense situation. Natalie suggested we shift from defense to offense. She'd been documenting her mother's behavior for years, including specifics of manipulation, tactics used on other relatives. We collaborated to build a comprehensive file chronicling decades of harassment. Former girlfriends my husband had lost touch with suddenly made sense. They'd all been driven away by similar schemes. The 20th week of my pregnancy brought a new escalation. I woke to find our mailbox stuffed with brochures from adoption agencies. The message was clear. She wanted me to doubt my ability to parent. My husband installed a lockable mailbox that day, but the emotional damage was done. Every typical pregnancy worry was amplified as I questioned whether she was right about my fitness as a mother. Our neighbors became unwitting tools in her plot. She befriended the elderly couple next door, delivering groceries and checking on them daily. They thought she was wonderful, unaware she was probing for details about our habits. When deliveries arrived, she'd intercept them under the guise of helpfulness, always knowing exactly what we'd ordered and when. My work performance suffered as I struggled to concentrate. Tasks that usually took hours stretched into days, as I obsessively checked security footage on my phone. My boss voiced concern, which played into my mother-in-law's narrative about my declining mental health. I forced myself to compartmentalize, refusing to give her ammunition for her competency claims. Daniel uncovered her next move from an unsecured laptop. She'd been emailing a family law attorney about building a paper trail for potential custody battles. Every gift she sent, every attempt to insert herself, was being documented as evidence of her commitment to the baby's well-being. Our resistance was being framed as paranoid behavior. The baby shower became a battleground. My friends planned a small gathering to create a moment of normalcy amid the chaos. She somehow learned the time and place. She didn't disrupt the event. That would have been too obvious. Instead, she sent an extravagant gift basket, delivered during the gift opening, filled with pricier items than anything my friends had given. The card read, "With love from Grandma," in her distinctive handwriting. My husband started sleeping poorly, with dark circles forming under his eyes. He installed an app linked to our security cameras and checked it constantly through the night. Our relationship strained under the relentless scrutiny. Date nights turned into planning sessions. Security alerts interrupted intimate moments. She was eroding our marriage without ever laying a hand on us. Natalie warned that the holiday season was approaching. Her mother always escalated during family events, using tradition and witnesses to force compliance. Thanksgiving loomed like a storm cloud. Relatives who'd stayed neutral began contacting us, urging reconciliation for the baby's sake. The pressure mounted from all angles. I joined a support group of women who'd dealt with toxic in-laws. Their stories brought both solace and dread. Some had reached uneasy truces, while others had battled for years. They shared documentation strategies and legal protections I hadn't known existed. One woman recounted how her mother-in-law gained partial custody by portraying herself as a stable alternative to an unstable mother. During his covert visits, my husband's cousin revealed even more disturbing details. His mother had been attending grandparents' rights groups, presenting herself as a victim of a selfish daughter-in-law blocking access to her grandchild. She'd built a network of sympathetic allies unaware of her true nature. Some even offered to testify as character witnesses if she pursued legal action. Stress manifested physically as my pregnancy progressed. Headaches became constant. When I did sleep, nightmares of her stealing my baby plagued me. My doctor prescribed mild, pregnancy-safe anxiety medication, which I knew she'd weaponize if she found out. Every medical choice was evaluated for potential legal consequences. We learned she'd been volunteering in the hospital's maternity ward for months, winning over nurses. She'd grown especially close to one nurse in the delivery unit, sharing stories about her cruel daughter-in-law keeping her from her grandchild. The idea that she might have allies there during my most vulnerable moment triggered a panic attack that took hours to calm. My husband confronted his extended family, laying out the full scope of her harassment. Some relatives now grasped the severity, while others still thought we were overreacting. The family rift deepened as holiday plans became a tangle of negotiations and hurt feelings. She played the victim masterfully, a grandmother who only wanted to love her grandchild. Financial strain grew as security costs drained our savings. The nursery we dreamed of became a stronghold, with window locks and camera angles prioritized over decor. Every dollar spent on protection was money not saved for our child's future. She'd found a way to steal from our child before they were born. Daniel's intelligence revealed her most sinister plan yet. She'd been researching childcare certifications and building a resume to position herself as the more capable caregiver. She'd even taken a part-time job at a daycare to gain professional childcare experience. Every step was calculated to strengthen her position if custody was ever contested. My body changed as the pregnancy advanced, but I couldn't savor the miracle of life. Each kick reminded me of what she planned to take. Shopping for baby clothes became a scouting mission, scanning for her car in parking lots and avoiding predictable stores. The joy of preparing for our child was tainted by constant vigilance. Work became my only refuge, but even that was under threat. She started sending weekly flowers to my office signed, "From your loving mother-in-law." Colleagues found it sweet, unaware of the emotional toll each bouquet carried. I couldn't reject them without seeming ungrateful or explain without sounding paranoid. The 7th month brought a terrifying escalation. I was home alone when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw an unfamiliar woman holding official-looking papers. She identified herself as a social worker responding to a report about a high-risk pregnancy. Someone had claimed I was in severe mental distress and a danger to my unborn child. My hands trembled as I called my husband, who rushed home from work. The social worker was professional but thorough, inspecting our home and asking about my mental health history. She found nothing amiss, but the visit went on record. My mother-in-law had orchestrated a way to involve authorities without directly implicating herself. Natalie used her contacts to help trace the complaint. It was filed anonymously through a tip line, making it impossible to pin down the caller. The social worker's report cleared us, but the investigation stayed in the system. With this precedent set, future complaints would carry more weight. She'd laid the foundation for future attacks while maintaining plausible deniability. Social workers at your door, probing your mental health. My mother-in-law was playing chess while we were stuck on checkers. Using child services as pawn seemed a new low, even for her. My husband's relationship with his mother reached a breaking point. One evening, he drove to her apartment and returned hours later, emotionally drained. She'd spent the entire time playing the victim, sobbing about missing her grandchild's milestones and showing him the nursery she'd set up. She'd even bought a car seat for her car, in case of emergencies. Her delusion was so strong she seemed to believe she was the wrong party. Sleep deprivation worsened as my due date neared. I'd wake multiple times a night to check locks and cameras. My husband began sleeping in shifts, one of us always on guard. The nursery remained half-finished as we prioritized security over aesthetics. What should have been a time of joyful anticipation became a siege mentality. She found ways to bypass every barrier we set. We blocked her calls, so she used disposable phones. When we changed our routines, she adjusted her surveillance. She infiltrated even the spaces we thought were safe. Her resources seemed endless. Her resolve was unyielding. Fighting her was like battling fog. She'd vanish only to reappear elsewhere. The baby shower gifts she sent haunted our home. We couldn't use them, knowing their manipulative intent. But donating them felt like admitting defeat. They sat in our garage, expensive reminders of her presence. Each stylish outfit and high-end toy was another attempt to stake her claim on our child. My already strained support system began to fray. Friends grew weary of the drama, unable to grasp why we couldn't just resolve things with her. Family members who'd initially supported us started suggesting compromises. The isolation she'd engineered was taking hold. Even those who believed us grew exhausted by the constant crisis. Daniel warned that she was ramping up her legal preparations. She'd hired a prominent family law attorney known for aggressive grandparent rights cases. Her volunteering, character witnesses, and documented gift-giving painted her as a devoted grandmother denied access. Our defensive measures were being twisted as evidence of our instability. The 36th week of pregnancy brought new fears. Labor was approaching, and despite our efforts, she'd entrenched herself at the hospital. We learned she'd been bringing treats to the maternity ward staff weekly, becoming a beloved figure. Nurses spoke warmly of the kind grandmother who just wanted to be part of her grandchild's life. My husband met with hospital security to explain the harassment and provide evidence. They promised to restrict her access during delivery, but their sympathy leaned toward the tearful grandmother who'd shared baby photos and her heartbreak. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Reddit Tales Time. We realized we couldn't count on institutional protection after she'd spent months building relationships there. Natalie suggested a drastic step: deliver at a different hospital. We researched facilities in nearby towns, hoping to find one where she had no connections. The logistics were challenging, increasing the distance from our support network, but it seemed our only shot at a peaceful birth. My mother-in-law must have sensed our plan. The gifts became more frequent, arriving daily. She provided contact info for a professional photographer, having already booked and paid for newborn photos. A high-end stroller appeared on our porch. Each gift came with cards expressing her love and excitement, building evidence of a caring grandmother rejected by ungrateful parents. At 37 weeks, stress triggered false labor. As we rushed to the hospital, I worried she knew we were there. The contraction stopped after monitoring, but the incident left us rattled. How could we manage real labor while staying hypervigilant against her interference? Our marriage counselor, one of the few professionals who grasped the situation, helped us craft a birth plan with security measures. We created code words, backup plans, and contingencies for various scenarios. What should have been a discussion about pain relief and birthing positions became a tactical defense strategy. Daniel's final intelligence report before my due date was the most alarming yet. His mother had been meeting with other estranged grandparents to study their successes and failures in gaining access. She'd researched case law and knew precisely what evidence courts found persuasive. Her planning was meticulous, treating our child as a prize to be won through legal tactics. The nursery camera pinged with activity. One night, my husband checked the feed and saw a package on the windowsill, placed without setting off our property's motion detectors. Inside was a hand-stitched quilt with a note. Crafted with love for my grandchild. Soon! That single word, soon, carried a chilling threat that kept me awake until dawn. My due date passed, and the waiting became unbearable. Every twinge felt like labor might start, testing our carefully crafted plans. She seemed to know we were close. Her social media posts grew more frequent, gushing about her excitement to be a grandmother, drawing sympathy from friends unaware of the true story. My husband took full family leave, refusing to leave my side as we approached the end. His resolve touched me, but I saw the toll in his weary eyes and tense posture. She'd stolen even these final precious moments of pregnancy, turning what should have been joyful anticipation into fearful watchfulness. The 39th week brought an unexpected ally. A nurse at our chosen hospital recognized my mother-in-law's photo from our security briefing. She'd previously worked at another facility where my mother-in-law volunteered and had seen similar behavior with another family. Her validation was a lifeline. Finally, someone in a position of authority saw the pattern. Labor began at sunrise on a Tuesday, 3 days past my due date. As contractions intensified, my husband executed our plan. He contacted only our most trusted allies, using the code words we'd established. We took a winding route to the hospital, checking for tails. Even in labor, I couldn't stop scanning for threats. Hospital security had our photos and protocols ready. They posted a guard near the maternity ward entrance with strict instructions we'd registered under aliases to keep our real names off public records. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Reddit Tales Time. Every precaution we could imagine was in place. But would it be enough? Between contractions, I watched my husband manage our defenses. He checked doors, verified staff IDs, and coordinated with our security network. What should have been his time to support me emotionally was spent guarding against his mother's intrusion, another piece of a normal birth experience she'd taken from us. As transition hit, and the pain escalated, my focus shifted to the urgent task of safely delivering our child. Months of stress, fear, and hypervigilance faded against the primal drive of labor. Yet even in those intense moments, part of me stayed alert, expecting her to appear. Our daughter was born at 11:47 p.m., perfectly healthy despite the pregnancy's strain. As I held her for the first time, tears streamed down my face, overwhelmed by love and fierce protectiveness. She was here. She was ours. And I'd do anything to keep her safe from the woman who wanted to claim her. My husband's face, as he met his daughter, broke through months of tension. For a moment, we were just new parents, marveling at the tiny life we created. But reality hit fast as he checked his phone to confirm our security network was still active. Even in our happiest moment, she cast a shadow. The nurse who'd recognized my mother-in-law from another hospital stayed past her shift to protect us. She kept our names off public boards, personally vetted every visitor, and created a safe space around our little family. Her kindness and grasp of our situation meant more than she could know. Recovery was a mix of feeding schedules and security checks. We chose not to share announcements or photos, enforcing a strict information lockdown. Trusted family members were allowed brief visits under tight rules. The usual joy of introducing a new baby became a covert operation. On the second night, hospital security caught my mother-in-law in the parking lot. She'd been circling for hours, likely sensing our presence despite our precautions. They escorted her off the premises with a trespassing warning, but we knew she'd only get more creative. The next morning brought a new challenge. My mother-in-law had pinpointed our room and left a gift basket outside the door. Nurses found it during rounds and brought it in, thinking it was from family. Inside were expensive baby outfits and a card proclaiming her love for her grandchild. My husband immediately reported it to security, but the damage was done. She knew our location. We decided to leave the hospital early. The doctor cleared us after confirming the baby and I were healthy enough. My husband drove to a side exit while security staged a distraction at the main entrance. We secured our daughter in her car seat and slipped away unnoticed, feeling like fugitives in our own lives. At home, we found more signs of her presence. Fresh flowers on our doorstep, a package from a luxury baby boutique. Our camera showed she'd come at 3 a.m., expertly dodging the motion sensors she clearly studied. The invasion of our space during our most vulnerable time felt calculated and cruel. Her timing in the parking lot, while we were still in the hospital, seemed too precise. How did she know we were there, despite the aliases and security measures? Daniel called with critical news. His mother had been meeting with a family court mediator, presenting herself as a devoted grandmother desperate to connect with her grandchild. She'd brought photos of the nursery she'd set up, receipts for all the gifts we'd rejected, and testimonials from her grandparents' support group. The mediator seemed sympathetic to her case. My husband acted quickly. He compiled all our evidence into a thorough dossier, including the harassment pattern, security footage, threatening messages, and statements from hospital staff who'd witnessed her behavior. We wanted to be ready if she pursued legal action, though we dreaded that possibility. The first week at home with our daughter should have been magical. Instead, we lived in constant alertness. Every knock at the door spiked my pulse. When neighbors stopped by to congratulate us, I searched for signs they'd been in contact with her. The baby monitor doubled as another security camera to obsess over. Natalie arrived with alarming news. Her mother was seen outside our pediatrician's office, likely trying to learn where we take the baby for checkups. She'd also been pleading with relatives for photos of the baby, playing the victim of being excluded from her granddaughter's life. Some family members started to waver under her influence. We quickly switched pediatricians, choosing one 3 towns away. The added distance was taxing with a newborn, but necessary. We registered using privacy protocols and explained the situation to the staff. They were sympathetic, but clearly thought we were overreacting to family drama. If only they knew the full extent. My mother-in-law intensified her psychological warfare. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and smash that bell icon so you never miss a twist, a turn, or a notification. Keep watching Reddit Tales Times for your daily dose of drama, laughs, and jaw-dropping stories, right where your favorite videos live.